请 Elephant 挑选兵器。
Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to another day here in a DPC Chinese Division 2. My name is Dragon Drop, I'm joined by Snare. We'll be bringing you the first series of the day, and after that, Ricky and Neff are gonna join and bring you the rest. So, yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm very excited. Of course, you and I to stay together. We casted one of the qualifier games. We did not cast the YBB game though. They're the first ones through. They've kind of dominated the bracket.
Yeah,
and
they look hella strong.
Up against Neptune Gaming right now. What are you expecting out of this match?
So this one's going to be an interesting one, right? Like you mentioned, we did get to see YBB. Like, we didn't cast them, but we saw them get a strong qualification, looking definitely the best team in the qualifier stages to do so. The team that they ended up beating, once they fell into the lower bracket, didn't look nearly as strong as they did in the upper bracket. So sometimes we might wonder, was this a matchup situation, or were they simply that dominant the entire time through? And on the other side for Neptune Gaming, some known quantities in the Chinese tier 2 Dota scene, Fonte, Yishen in particular, have pretty much made their name all around with a bunch of different teams. So I'm expecting them to have a slight experience advantage on this one. However, if YBB can play with that same tempo and pace that we saw in the qualifiers, then it might actually be a quick 2-0, because if they play at that pace and they can do it consistently, they looked really, really, really good.
Certainly something to look forward to. Yeah, some of these pace heroes are being banned out, like especially the Lycan, one of these heroes that can add to the push quite a bit. But you've already got the Nyx as well as the Razor, so those are heroes that are very much happy to one, scout out around in the mid game here, try and set up for some big kills. Nyx also pretty good against Snapfire in particular, just to walk in to the ultimate with the Carapace, stop that in its tracks.
Yeah.
So some good utility from that. And then you've got the Razor, which is a pretty good matchup against a lot of the carries these days.
Also a okay matchup against the Kunkka if they do end up wanting to run it middle against Kunkka in that position. You know, you're always one of the saddest people in the world with Kunkka, where the only damage comes out of the Torrent, Tidebringers doing nothing. Really feels terrible, so we'll see if that ends up being the case. I also really like having Razor. The more I've been seeing Razor lately being played with Nyx, with Disruptor, with these Night Stalker, these sort of heroes that can give you additional vision. And I do think it helps Razor out a lot. When you're not spending half the time in the middle of the fight thinking about which target to go on, you immediately know who to go and drain. Nyx Assassin can set you up spectacularly for that. By the time you get there, with Storm Surge, you can just stay on a target. Sure, Kunkka does have Torrent, but he's pretty much out of the fight if he has to use that RU or the X marks the spot. I'm also curious, though, where they want to lane this Razor, because we've been seeing this in a lot of different positions. Obviously, the way we know this hero traditionally is from the mid lane. I've seen it safe lane sometimes, but I feel like right now where it feels the strongest is in the off lane. With a lot of heroes like Medusa, Drow Ranger, the two very strong range heroes being in the meta, even those heroes don't really like playing against the Razor in the long term. And of course, the other heroes that go forward, your Slarks, your Juggernauts, etc., I really hate playing against Razor. So, very versatile hero, and I like that they open with it because it gives them a lot of options for later on in the draft.
It's super versatile, and almost want to say it works better in the sidelines most matchups, because if you manage to get lane control, if you like for example in the offlane, you know, if you get the creep wave close to the tower, and then the enemies have to come and contest that, but then there's a lot of room between them and their own towers. You can just run them down with the static link, with a bit of extra slow from Plasma Field, and it's just so much more room to work with and really start harassing them. Got a few extra interesting heroes here. Undying, a very stable laner for NP, but the Hammer Mommy making an appearance for IBB.
I mean, I'm kind of surprised by this, right? Since they already have Razor. I mean, I suppose now that you can play this as a support on the Dawnbreaker. It's traditionally been played lately and successfully at the very least in the off lane. I wonder though, like, what's the strategy with this? Because now their skirmish potential is kind of obscene and ungodly. And they also have two very good lanes. No matter how they decide to put this together, I feel like they can put a lot of pressure onto the early game for NP, make life difficult while they start the game. Although I'm also curious, what are they going to be laning this with, right? Because I was assuming initially that it's going to be Razor with Nyx, no matter what the configuration of heroes was. Now this changes it up a bit, but at the same time, I don't feel like the Nyx Dawnbreaker lane is as strong as like a Nyx Razor lane would be. Especially now that we see this Troll Warlord I'm starting to worry about farm distribution. So maybe one of these heroes is indeed going to be a support between maybe probably Dawnbreaker. I don't know though, because I mean, I'm not satisfied just having this mid-raiser, offlane Dawnbreaker, and then the last hero we pick is what? Some 5 position, maybe a Weaver or something, which might be too slow in this game. I don't know.
Also banned out. I feel like if you need a 5 now, we're gonna need someone with a bit of extra control, especially with the Troll Warlord now, right? It's a hero that can be kited around if the enemy has enough tools. I mean, in this game, there's not actually all that much right now. I mean, you have a bit of a Snapfire Cookie, which is unreliable at best, and then you have got all of the Kunka utility. That's not really going to be enough to keep a Troll Warlord controlled up for an entire fight, I don't.
Nah, especially when this troll is gonna have backup from Dawnbreaker, right? It's now you basically have like double battle trance. It's gonna be quite difficult to burst troll down and kill him quickly. Between actually both troll and razor have a hard time dying already. Once you add the Solar Guardian, things become a lot more difficult. I'm also a little bit concerned about NP. It feels like they have to sort of move as a big unit, right? I don't really necessarily see them being able to get kills or objectives around the map unless they're committing 3 or 4 heroes. I can see that happening with YBB in occasions, but it feels a lot more difficult for NP to be able to pull off. And now they go for this Bat Rider, so we now have our mid laner here, Dragon Drop. And Dragon Drop, Dawnbreaker rather, will be consigned to a support role. Does mean that a little slower on the experience, so we're going to take a lot more time to get to the point where she's allowed to siege in the middle of these fights, but at the same time, it gives them more initiation, gives them more ways to be able to isolate and catch Luna. There's only one real counterplay here with, like, what, X marks Torrent, that's pretty much it, but for the most part, this does feel like a fairly free bat game up until this point. Very little disable on the side of Neptune, very little burst, and a matchup that is favorable for him in the mid lane. But then there we go, something of a counter. Press the attack, let us purge off both of the Lasso, as well as these really annoying stacks of the sticky napalm. That's probably one of the best picks they could get at the end of the draft here. It helps them a lot because they only have 2 stuns on the side of YBB between Lasso and the Impale from Nyx Assassin. However, it is still going to be a game where you're playing this LC into a ranged safe laner. This time it's going to be the troll in the safe lane. Later on, I'm seeing this LC struggle a lot to have influence in the fights, damage-wise. I mean, you can just link Luna, she does nothing, and then dump all the right-click on LC, and then Bob's your uncle. You know that you've won that fight every single time. So I really do like, at the end of this draft, what they've done here on the side of YBB. Neptune Gaming have recovered well, I think, with this Legion Commander, but I am not convinced it's going to be enough because their laning phase does seem a little bit difficult for them.
Yeah, I would agree, and I've just been looking a little bit at YB started the buff, and of course throughout the qualifiers they've been running the Dawnbreaker quite a lot, always in the support role as far as I can tell here, so they certainly have some experience with that. They're in the groove, as it were. They're really just trying to continue that same kind of playstyle. They also up against Red Flower, they've got the same draft opener with the Nyx and the Razor. Certainly know what they're doing. They've got very solid lanes, and it's really just going to be a matter of them not being outplayed in them, I suppose, by Neptune Gaming.
Easy advice ever.
Yeah, they definitely have some tools as well. Like you mentioned, that Legion Commander I think is a very strong last pick. Just to be able to get the initiative, you know. Try and get that the jump in with a blink duel, maybe throw in an eclipse or just a couple of right clicks from Luna and the beams and whatnot. So yeah, they have ways to take control of the game, but they're not going to be all that easy. It's going to be a lot on a Kunkka to actually control these team fights if you don't get that kind of blink initiation.
Yeah, I feel really hard. Like it feels like a difficult game to be as Kunkka in the situation. You pretty much have to be everywhere. You have to get a lot of gold as well because I foresee him needing, like despite the lack of overall stuns, I foresee him just needing to get either a BKB or an early halberd for himself just to help out in the fights. If he doesn't do so, and that never happens for him, complications simply abound, right? And it does end up feeling like the Kunkka's game is going to be just so slowed down to the point where Luna doesn't really have any other support, right? Right now in the position that she's in, you can't really necessarily rely on LC as your pure frontline and initiation. You know, somebody has to do one job, somebody else has to do the other. So if they don't come out of these lanes in a very strong position here on the side of Neptune Gaming, I do feel like it's going to be quite difficult to transition into the mid game, especially with how quickly things can happen from YBB. If they get ahead, suddenly I'm really worried if Nyx gets farm. I'm hoping that that's the one thing they do. If anything else, like even if Batrider has a good game, shut down this Nyx assassin. Because if Nyx does have a good game, able to get that vision going, able to get the super high levels into the Impale Carapace, like you mentioned, super good against the Morty's Kisses, as well as against both Luna and Kunkka. Quite easy from a very far distance to be able to set up onto those heroes because their natural farm patterns just generally tends to have them spewing damage in all different directions, right?
Yeah.
So if this Nyx has a good start, it does really bode badly for Neptune Gaming into the mid game, but we'll have to see what the lanes here, Dragon Drop.
Yeah, it looks like we're gonna have Storm in mid. Perhaps, oh, why am I talking about Storm? Looking at the Raze, is currently blocking up the mid, but
Home Surge, it's fine.
yeah. I mean, he is kind of stormy, you know. And his name is Storm.
And his name is Storm, yeah.
Makes a lot more sense. And there's also rain on there, so all we need is wind. And then basically got the weather outside right now for me today, so there you go. At least there's no Storm Spirit in this game on the other team. That's always a bit annoying when you cast Stormer. Or now
Stormer playing against Storm Spirits while he's got Storm Surge on Razor.
Yeah,
you know,
he's normally the Storm Spirit player too, so most of the time it works out, but not always. It's that's having a good start in mid here, getting that ever important range creep.
Yep. Quite necessary to start your lane out in this way. He knows that it's going to be a very good time for him. It's going to be quite easy to keep Wishen from being able to take the range creep in the opposite direction. So already we see Storm having the kind of game where Kunkka, this was not what he wanted. And because they did manage to put this Batrider top, gives them a few more options, allows them to put Dawnbreaker bottom now with this Troll Warlord just to make sure that Troll survives the entire lane. But here's where it gets really scary. Batrider Nyx Assassin. This does not seem like a fun lane to play into. The more levels get picked up, it's not like Undying can do all that much about this lane, nor can Luna, really. All they can do is survive, try to get farm for now, because they know it gets difficult in a few levels.
Yeah. Level 1, not that scary, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Eventually, if they're in this kind of position, Nyx right now walks in from the back. You can easily start with a stun, start stacking up that napalm, and then run them down. Again, once you have like level 3 on over those heroes, you get 2 points up on napalm, maybe 1 point in Firefly. And then things get very, very dangerous. Like, you have no way to slow them down with the Undying.
Absolutely.
A lot of range just bullying them, never mind. Actually being body blocked by his own teammate to run forward. Couple more right clicks will do it. The Verifier. Oof. Verifier gaming, ladies and gentlemen. It works.
A last minute Verifier there. You know, Celestial Hammer I thought was going to be good enough to allow Dawnbreaker to get that kill. Rain came close. But, you know, LC is fine. And you are playing LC, so all you need to do is be able to survive these kind of skirmishes. Eventually, you'll be able to sustain yourself in this lane anyway. You don't have to worry about it. But this is kind of scary and a proof of concept of what can come later on, right? With Rain pseudo leading the charge, willing to tank up a lot of damage. It's one thing when you're focusing this hero in an off-lane position, but when it's just support Dawnbreaker, you always feel so bad committing spells onto it. So it's going to be able to make a lot of space for his team overall in this game. And one thing I'm also considering here, I'm wondering what the build-up is going to be for Lu on the Troll Warlord. I mean, generally speaking, we do have these more fight-orientated builds, but of late, we've seen the return of these Battle Furies. Although, you know, you're playing into Luna, so there's two different ways you can go about this, right? You can decide I'm going to buy Battle Fury so I can scale into the uber late game with this Luna, or I go like SNY, BKB, Diffusal, and try to challenge her in the early mid-game. And then you don't have to worry about this uber late game. And given their draft, Neptune Gaming, I don't think wants to go super late anyway. So it might be useful to be prepared to challenge them at the phase of the game where they'd want to be fighting anyway.
I think I'm a bit biased because it's always easy for me to make that kind of argument against the Battle Fury. Because I also want to see this kind of early timing being realized. Like you look at YPP's draft and you see, especially with the Razor and the Batrider, right? Those aren't necessarily heroes that you think of when it comes to like late game power necessarily. So I'm not sure they have the better matchup as the game goes super late. But then again, the Troll Warlord can be a bit crazy at times in the right circumstances.
Also, those like nuts heroes, right? Where pretty much anything can happen in the kind of game with this hero. So
I've also not seen too much Troll Warlords to really judge his late game power in this patch. So for all I know, he can just dominate the entire thing.
So now he's dominating the lane though, down bottom. Nevermind is not really enjoying life here between these two heroes. We did talk about it a bit in the draft that playing against range heroes always problematic for LC, but even worse when there's a Dawnbreaker middle. And I think what also is problematic for Neptune Gaming, I'm looking at these lanes and I'm asking myself, where do they make anything happen? There's such difficult targets to go on pretty much all sides of the map. You can't really jump this Razor in this mid lane. It's going to be uber tanky. Moving top onto Batrider is quite hard as well, provided Nyx is in the area. Can both scout out and prevent any initiation from happening. And down bottom, if Rain is alive, just Lu's not going to die. That's just not going to happen. So it just really, you start to think to yourself, when Kunkka is starting to feel a bit ready and it's like, sweet, let's start making things happen. Where do I even go to do that? Also, for the side of YBB, I can easily imagine that just Razor, just show up top, help them out as soon as they have level 6 on Batrider. After and Lasso, boom, whatever target gets gone on is going to die 100% of the time. So feels like the game is a little bit easier for them to play on the side of YBB here. But they're still holding steady, I suppose, in the laning phase from Neptune Gaming. It's not ideal, but the big thing that they've done is the thing I was most concerned about. Nyx Assassin isn't having a runaway experience out on that top lane. And that's going to allow Neptune Gaming both to get farm on the Luna back at some point, you know, but also not to get completely ran over once the laning phase does break down.
Farm on the Luna shouldn't be the biggest of concerns. I mean, I think they're at around 30 last hits right now, which is perfectly fine. Of course, Razor and Troll slightly ahead other lanes, but Luna, just with these passives, you can farm up the jungle very, very quickly. You get a couple of levels under your belt, so you can always fall back on that. But yeah, to your other point, I would agree that YBB have a much easier time just ganking heroes, whereas, alright, if Rain's all alone here, it's boated up, and almost killed. Here, stick charges will delay this a bit further, but it's actually the first blood, 6 minutes in.
Wow, that's kind of surprising.
Very passive so far.
You know, it's actually interesting, right? The further we got into the qualifiers, it kind of felt like people got more reckless somehow. But, you know, day one here, the DPC, people are like, well, these points are really important. It's not like we have reverse fixtures. Every game matters. So no one wants to take any major risks. And I suppose if you're going to lose the first blood, having it go against the position 5 Dawnbreaker is like, whatever, right? You're okay with this. You can live with it. It's fine. And this is kind of the role of the hero, to make sure that any given time that there are going to be ganks coming into his team, he's there ready to break them up. Good kill though for Kunkka, puts him at the top of the net worth chart. We still haven't seen what the full decision is going to be from the Kunkka. Are we going for the early Halberd, early Armlet, early BKB? The way things are looking right now pretty much has the pick of the litter, but I think Halberd might be very useful. And look at Lu, we do see that the option is going to be Battle Fury on the Troll. So we're not going to be having an early one here, Drag and Drop. They want to make sure that this Troll is ready and as stacked as humanly possible going later into the game.
Yep. Be the build that is the way to go here for these Chinese teams so far from what we've seen. So he'll be doing that. I mean, again, the flip side argument of what I said earlier was that you have a lot of early game strength already between your other cores. So you don't necessarily need go all in on that, and they can certainly handle themselves up against what NG wants to do to them. But yeah. Outside of pickoffs between the lanes, like we just saw on the Dawnbreak, I feel like NG have a much easier time ganking towers as the game goes on, because they have this teamfight threat from the Kunkka, and they're gonna have a good amount of push from the Luna when she gets ready.
Yeah, can also drop Tombstone around the towers. Make sure that you're fully prepared. Speaking of Tombstone, our boy Undying gonna drop one down, but will just be the first victim of Lasso in this game, dragged back by this Batrider. Not gonna die just yet, but it will happen eventually. Might open the opportunity for revenge though. An N28 trying to run away, not gonna be able to do so. They're also dragging back the Batrider. Boat crashes onto his face. Gonna be a secondary kill, and Neptune Gaming respond fast, respond in force, and they get very important kills, stopping any momentum from that top lane, and they've done such a good job of doing so. Storm won't be able to get the full drain. Of course, we just happy to de-ward him and then leap away with the Fire Snap Cookie. Such a cheeky little play there. But they've opened up quite a lot now from this mid lane. Kunkka is going to be in a very happy position because yet again, he got to involve himself in some kills. So he is feeling really good about himself, not just in gold, but getting a ton of experience out of this Dragon Drop. And this Kunkka is going to be sort of like this engine for them. And I was actually going to mention, you're talking about how they have a lot easier time taking towers. For YBB, their only tower siege is Troll, stand in front of the tower, and threaten them until we kill them all. And Kunkka going to be involved in another kill, and this time it's not just a regular kill, it's a dual kill to boot. Never mind getting the first +10 damage of the game.
Be a bit careful, don't want to feed away too many of those. Like last couple of situations, YBB were just straight up outnumbered or caught out of position. That's a good kill on the Undying, but then of course got caught out because it took a little bit too long. Like Undying with all of the heals, delaying it long enough for the rest of his team to come in. Yeah, that's a lot of momentum here for Neptune Gaming that you don't really want to give them.
Especially not on this Kunkka. Yishen has been involved in all of the kills for this team, top of the net worth. He's going to be the one that makes space for the team all around. And when you're playing a hero like Legion Commander, you always feel great when there's less pressure on you to be the one to start every single fight. So Kunkka can take that responsibility, and Fonte, whew, give me that money.
Huge
Damn
stacks.
Bugattis. Oh, this is... Honestly, I could just keep the camera here all day. This is the most relaxing thing in the world. To see carry players just completely clearing out largely slack triangles. It's wonderful to see.
Both passives almost all maxed out. Needs one more point in the glaives. You clean through these so fast, even 10 minutes in.
Yeah. And there's no stacks on the other side from YBB for the troll to be able to do the same. Even when you do get the Battle Fury up, you're not really going to be able to push the pace as quickly. Although Storm has found a little stack that he's taking care of now, but it seems like all the core players on the map, nobody wants to see each other. They're like, well, we've got items to pick up, so we'll see y'all in a little bit. But never mind, it's going middle.
Good carapace, now with the ultimate. Can't keep track of the Nyx, so he's just farming up. Okay, that's a lot of damage, never mind.
Nice.
Did not expect that, neither did I, honestly.
That is a huge deal. You come into this lane intending and willing to try and make sure that they get a quick kill using the duel for the beginning of the game, but instead you end up feeding away a death on Nevermind. To make matters worse, the kill goes the way of Nyx Assassin, sure, but Razor's involved too. That is, woof, just pain and suffering. One of the worst things that could happen to them at this stage of the game, but now that it has, you know, they realize that, well, you know, we can't really keep the status quo going. We do still have to shift off our lanes, but I don't know. I'm not happy for them if this game slows down to this core, right? They've done a very good job in this early game. If I'm honest, I think they did a better job than I was expecting. But you still have to be able to utilize this farm progressively on the map, right? It's still a little bit easier for YBB to do smoke ganks like this, for example. And we'll see if they do get the catch onto Kunkka or anybody else.
The very well Knights, that's Lasso. Jump in all alone, no help coming. It's 4 against 1. It's a bit unfair, but that's Dota for you.
I mean, we talked about it the other day. Dota's like the most unfair in the world. The only way to win at Dota is to do it unfairly. And big kill. That's the big first rotation, like all across the map for Batrider. It's very successful with the Nyx Assassin. And that's kind of what we were talking about earlier, right? The ease of execution that YBB have to do that versus how hard it is for Neptune Gaming. They tried that middle and it failed for them. But YBB, you can bring in the solo guardianing Dawnbreaker from all across the map. Batrider, Nyx Assassin just has so much disable. Quite difficult to play into. And until they have more access to more defensive items or just get tankier overall, feels like moves like that will always be successful. Even if there were heroes around them, I still think Shen dies, and they don't have the easiest counterplay potential unless the Undying is there to get a very good tombstone on top of Morty's Kisses landing on viable targets.
Well, if can't gank heroes, might as well try and gank towers. Trying to make a play for this tier 1 mid, but YBB, they're perfectly willing to fight this one, but it looks like at least slow it down. I mean, there's so much wave clear. This next turn, though, on the Rain with the bolt to follow. Every single ultimate being used. That's a bit too much. Can they get
them the kill, eh?
But they get the tombstone at least.
You lose Dawnbreaker, it was more dual damage for Neptune Gaming, and they get the tier 1 tower. They come away definitely happier in the overall, even though they had to give up the gold on the tombstone. Doesn't really matter that much. And like you mentioned, I mean, you talked about how many spells they have at their disposal when they do want to siege a tower. Does require them to commit pretty much all of them, but the very least, it's more important to get the objective than to hold on to the cooldown. Top lane, Lu. Lu. Okay,
Hello?
here we go. Damage onto Nevermind. Is he gonna battle trance him? Might not even need to. There's the slow coming in. Whirling axes finds him in the trees. One more right click. Oh my gosh.
What a guy.
The bashes. We spoke about how with Troll anything can happen, and one of the things that can happen is that you can get triple rooted. What? How unlucky is that?
He just has a battle fury. He's not supposed to be fighting people, but I guess if he's all alone, if you just get to click him for 10 seconds straight, yeah, then that's gonna happen.
I mean, battle is in the name, right, of the item, so he's
Yeah.
using it properly.
Down bottom though. Want to defend this one again, but there's a lot of Neptune Gaming here, but maybe not for long. Fonte though, getting healed up. The BKB showed off from Storm. It's the control of Chen and interrupt on Rain. They can reset this fight, and I'm not sure if you want to keep playing this one on YBB. There's an axe back on the unit. Almost killed with the duel. That's a very dangerous position, actually losing it! Oh no, that's a disaster. Now they have to run away. They're all dropping lower and lower. Storm just continues to chip away at them. Looks like the rest of them will be able to walk it off ever so barely.
Oh my gosh. Nevermind almost got the dual kill underneath the tower, but the dual damage and the dual right clicks unfortunately couldn't come out because of Whirling Axe's mischance. That is the saddest thing I've ever seen. And Iron Kid walks away happy, you know, you got to get the bonus dual damage for yourself on Batrider. Not exactly how it was supposed to go. And at the end of the day, though, for the side of YBB, it was a difficult fight. They almost ended up losing Batrider, but they protect the tier 1 tower. They make sure that they keep the advantage tower-wise on the map. They have more of the map to play with to get their farm than Neptune Gaming will have access to right now. That's why ND, coming down bottom, they're insistent on the side of NG of getting this tower. They have to make it happen sooner rather than later. You just can't play with this reduced map capacity, especially when you've already committed to laying out vision in this part of the map. We see this ward right in front of the small camp down bottom. So they don't want to let the tower live for too long, but at the same time, they'll be feeling really bad after having lost that fight, and they definitely don't want to go unless they have all their ultimates back online. Fortunately, they don't have a lot of high cooldowns on their roster, so outside of maybe Eclipse, which is, I think it's a very telling that that's the one spell we haven't seen them use just yet. Yeah. They're trying to save it for the perfect fight, the perfect opportunity, because they know once Eclipse is down, YBB has an open invitation to just run into them every single time, not having to fear the overwhelming magic damage.
Case of Razor, I don't think he fears it now. Of course, first item BKB, first major item. So it's much better these days than it used to be, just because they changed scaling from 10 to 5 to 9 to 6. So it's a lot more valuable to get the BKB early and just use it whenever.
Yeah,
it's a big concern for NG here. They looked like they did a good job in that last fight to start with. I mean, just try and kite it out, survive, and then re-engage. But then that duel ends up not working out. Try to blink forward here, but Rain too far away.
What?
Until he gets put back in. Alright, that's a bit awkward.
Oh man, that's the saddest thing in the world. Rain thought he was away, but the flame break actually pushes the Legion commander closer. Bit unfortunate there, and because they get that kill, it'll also allow them to secure the tier 1 tower as well. Neptune Gaming finally have some good fortune going in their direction. Big thing for them, I think, is making sure that Fonte is involved. Fonte is playing with the team, right? You can see now they're starting to dedicate resources to make sure Fonte is protected. Speaking of resources, will they commit some to try and kill Shen here? Draining away all of his damage right now, but I think Storm will be happy with just taking the damage. 115, it's a decent amount of scratch. It's a decent amount. I don't think they try to fight this either from Neptune Gaming. They know that Storm has a BKB. No point really trying to commit like full Morty's kisses. Just let him go. It's fine. It's okay.
15 damage, casual DD, just aim for yourself. Might chip away at this tier 1, but it is a bit scary if you're not all there. Yeah. If you don't want to overcommit there. There's some new items coming out. BKB and Luna plus that Grove Bow. Very nice indeed. BKB is well on the troll.
Yeah. I think they think it's as nice as you said, because they immediately want to go for a fight here.
Ooh. If it's scouted though.
Just things like playing against next things, They're gonna smoke now themselves on YTB. Like, this is the perfect time. Once you've broken the opponent's smoke and you know that they're not gonna be positioned perfectly to fight, you know? You don't like to stick S5 when a smoke fails. You wanna spread out a little bit more, get some other objectives going, farm up. And that's gonna give them the opportunity to move on the map. The dire scan won't connect, but Luna's still careful enough to back off away from the triangle here. But they still want to go for this. Oh, never mind. He makes the jump. They're going with the immediate duel onto the Batrider. That's going to be a kill with the follow-up from the Kunkka as well. Rain came in with the Solar Guardian, but it's not going to help out in that situation. That's going to be 2 down immediately. Storm forced into popping BKB. You have to just TP out from the situation. Looks so good for Neptune Gaming, but never mind. Yet again, an amazing initiation, and now Fire Snap Cookie tosses the Legion Commander forward, stuns out 928, and the next assassin gets taken down. 3 heroes killed, and YBB were the ones that went for that smoke gank drag and drop, but they're the ones that get punched in the nose through it.
They were so ready for that move. It's unreal. It's also a bit awkward if you don't have that blink initiation of your own. Like, Batrider has a blink if you see the Legion Commander and get the lasso out instead of starting with the duel. Maybe that fight looks different, but as it stands, the duel comes out here. Solar Guardian to try and make him survive through that, and at least they didn't give up the duel damage. But they still lost 3 heroes as they immediately made a call. Alright, this is not a good fight. Let's try and get out of here.
Small mercies. And to make matters worse, both Razor and Troll Warlord popped BKB in the fight. And I don't believe Fonte needed to on the Luna. So Luna is still going to be sitting with that additional BKB charge. That 1 extra second really can make all the difference in the world. Dota 2 is largely a game of margin. So Troll, not going to be happy about the fact that the first usage of BKB was one that's used to flee away from a fight rather than stick in it and make sure that you command that fight, right? It's what you want to be doing as all these carry heroes. The first time you use BKB is extremely important. And now Neptune Gaming, look how they're protecting Fonte. They're like, well, there's no reason not to play around Fonte anymore. We just play around Fonte. Somebody tries to jump us. Never mind, we'll blink duel him. And as long as Fonte is nearby with Undying, neither the death on Legion will happen, and we'll just always have enough damage to win that duel out. So we can play in this fashion, you know, this sort of pseudo 4 protect 1 style. Kunkka can stay on the periphery, farming up his own items. But if those 4 heroes are together, then we just feel strong on the map. And this is despite them not necessarily having an out-and-out gold advantage, but this Luna herself is just so stacked that they're allowed to play in this aggressive posture.
Talking about timings. Oh, what the hell? That's just straight up blink forward.
Okay.
That's the vision from the freshly placed water belief here, making that possible as we're setting up for Roche. Tombstone is down to help them out. Yeah, we've been talking about timings, and Neptune Gaming, they certainly hit theirs very, very early on in these team fights, and now they're the ones making the moves. They're the ones dictating the pace of the game, and YBB have to figure out some way to respond to that. So far, the idea is, alright, let's get at least tier 1 tower bottom, not exactly all that valuable. Tier 1 mid still very much standing for the dire sides, offering them up a lot of access to the Roche pit, to the Radiant jungle as well. And they're just putting the pedal to the metal here.
Yeah, you know, you were talking earlier about the build-up on this Troll Warlord and what the philosophy is going to be, right? And we're seeing now that the decision was a bad one. No, Torrent catches the Batrider as he TPs in. That is so sad.
Timed.
Oh, Solar Guardian comes too late. Also, both Torrent is going to crash out with the X-Master spot perfectly onto Rain. It leads into a double kill for this Luna. They might not be done. Lu getting caught with some stuns. Storm dragged back with the X as well. Will they be able to kill him? Lots of damage flying out. Tombstone on the high ground as well. And look at the right-click damage. Fire Snap Cookie forward onto Storm. They force him to pop the BKB and run. But he might be forced out of the fight. At the same time, Fonte went too far forward. They will pop the Aegis. 928 setting up for this Impale.
Oh, no.
They have Fire Snap Cookie at the ready and a pause. Oh, this is heartbreaking right now for YPB. So much time for Neptune Gaming to think about exactly which spells to use to protect this Luna. So she should be fine after the unpause. And this is just so sad. This is terrifying. Although they do get the Aegis kill, so that does mean that I feel like the push is over onto the high ground. Neptune Gaming can't really take the chance of trying to break the base right now. But still another successful fight for them. Still another situation where they're the ones playing on the front foot. They're the ones being the aggressors, forcing everybody on YBB back. And it's kind of surprising that, honestly, that the Luna died. I really thought Storm was going to die at the very end there. So good job, I think, from YBB to keep the Razor up. Because if Razor dies in that situation, I think we do have a lane of Rax lost, even if Luna dies and gives up the Aegis. But him staying alive protects the base. Razor can at least stick around, throw out these plasma fields. And so they should be able to keep things going here. But the game has become very, very difficult here at Dragon Drop. They're losing so much map control so quickly. And because Troll went for this Battle Fury, didn't go for the S and Y that he's building into right now, he's very far from being able to fight, let alone just fight against the Luna mano a mano.
Yeah. They should be able to hold down, like Razor's healing up. He was almost dead, you're absolutely right. If he falls there, things might look a little bit more difficult here. Troll Warlord by himself will not be able to fight against the entire team like that. But as it stands, yeah, it should just be Neptune Gaming walking it off and getting out of there. Yeah, they've been hitting the perfect storm. Their teamfight execution was just perfect. They got the vision on the bat ride again as he TPs in, perfectly timed Torrent into the duel. And then they get that extra kill on the Dawnbreaker again. Everything's just hitting perfectly, and we've been talking about it in the draft, they don't have a ton of lockdown, but if everything is being used so effectively, even the cookies in these fights, then, well, it looks like it's more than enough anyway. You know, just go from one to the next, kind of put YBB on the back foot, make them kind of go in one by one like they did, and that's just such a big advantage in any team fight.
Absolutely. And I think another complication for YBB is there's no one item that you can buy from this stage of the game that's really gonna change all your fortunes. You need a few items on Troll. You need a lot more tank ability on Storm Spirits, and maybe would like on Storm's Razor with Storm Surge. Lol, I got caught this time. And maybe would like to see him pick up like a Shiva's this game, just to be able to help out, but he needs both raw HP and some armor to buttress the BKB, because we saw in that last fight, just having the BKB is just not good enough anymore. Need additional items on top of that. I'm also curious what the build-up's going to be for this Batrider. We still don't have the Blink, of course, and we still need to have the BKB afterwards. I wonder if he's going to want to maybe consider getting Ags this game to try and help him out, because he must have seen by now that a lot of heroes end up stepping over onto the position where LC is. And speaking of LC, you know, Nevermind has played a really good game, I think, and you would never tell that Nevermind is a substitute here, right? That he came in to help out the team in the absence of Dolem in the off lane. So the fact that he's playing so well with this good cohesion, I think bodes well overall for the side of Neptune Gaming. And we're about to get back into this one. All right, what's your bet? Is Luna gonna live? I think he's fine.
Yeah, she should be fine. I mean, got the cookie, you've got the buff from Nevermind. Kills from Undying. I mean, even if 9 to 8 stuns now, are just gonna get purged off.
Yeah, Purge, Fire Snap Cookie, Torrent, X, the left soul rip on the Undying. No Tombstone, but this would be... Yo, this would be the kill of the century, honestly, if they get this. But sadly, they don't have the Bat Rider nearby. Maybe if Bat was here, because Bat still has Lasso, you might consider it, but...
Yeah.
This is so sad. Don't you always get depressed when you see teams like in this position where there's a very appetizing kill, seemingly all alone, in front of you, right in front of your base, but there's literally nothing you can do about it.
Alright. I'm just gonna let him walk. Yeah, still a lot of momentum. Yeah, a lot of momentum for NG. It doesn't really... It's not really reflected in the net worth right now. But doesn't mean that they're not ahead.
I think it's because like the way that the two teams have approached this game, where for Neptune Gaming, it literally has all been about Luna. And they're perfectly comfortable playing that style. Like, make the game about Luna. They're going to try and get this kill on Nevermore, though. Get the drag back. Oh, never mind. This makes them feel good. That's some good revenge for YBB. For all those times that you've caught us in these duels, for all those press the attack purges, you know, at least a kill, get it in the way of Lu. And Troll Warlord, it's one of these very interesting matchups when you go into the late game against Luna, where it's very item dependent, very level dependent. The situation as it stands right now, Luna is going to eat him for breakfast, but there is a scenario where this game goes another like 30 minutes, and this Troll does actually become too monstrous to deal with for the Luna, but you know, Neptune Gaming, I don't think they let the game get to that point, right?
They really shouldn't. Like, I really like the pace that they've been putting up, and never mind hanging around there.
夜眼中塔
Just
正受到攻
eyes
击，
bigger than his stomach there, just trying to contest an Ancient Attack by himself, more or less, as Storm falls into another BKB. Trying to TP out. There's a lot of damage here, though. Oof, almost enough.
Yo,
Straight up get the kill, but yeah, it's a straight up misplay there from the Legion, as joining up the rest of the team now. Like, the strength from NG, the way that they've been playing, is their positioning, their superior
夜眼中塔正受到
vision in
攻
these team
击，
fights.
天辉下塔正
They
受
can
到攻
continue
击
doing。that, that's fine. But if they start splitting up now, if they start slowing down, giving opportunities like that for YBB, the
天
tables
辉下
can turn.
塔
So you
正受
gotta
到攻击，
watch out for that
天
one.
辉下塔已被摧
absolutely.
毁。
Especially considering that we still don't have a situation where Neptune Gaming have the clear out-and-out gold lead. You know, it's just Luna that's super far ahead, and they've positioned the entire playstyle around her. But YBB, much more spread out in their farm distribution, much more capable of other heroes assisting and getting this win. So they really can't rest on their laurels here for Neptune Gaming. All it takes is a one fight where Luna dies, and then suddenly everything's different. All the power that you put into her, no longer applicable in that situation. So, need to keep this gas going. And Troll and Storm on the Razor are actually getting their farm, and they're not really being stopped. Sure, there's a lot of times they've had to use BKB to escape very prickly situations, but by and large, the game is still going for them. And there are still several occasions I can see them being useful in these fights, making life extremely difficult. Right now, one of the things we haven't really seen as well in this game is Razor actually getting on top of Luna and draining her damage from that direction. If he ever does, it's really a big deal, because between the BKB of himself as well as the Lu Troll Warlord, they can tank a lot of the damage from the Eclipse, deny her the right-click damage she so sorely needs. And if this Razor does still commit to buying this heart, I think it actually should be Shiva's, but whatever. As we see a quick fight onto this Bat Rider. Poor Bat getting caught in with the Morty's Kisses. Tidal Wave also pushes him back. So they have the shot out on Kunkka. They utilize it to bring down poor Bat Rider. Man, yo, Ionid has just had a really, really, really rough game here. Feels like everybody on Neptune Gaming has it out for him on the Bat Rider.
天辉上塔正受
Yeah,
到攻
it's
击，
it's not too
天
great.
辉上塔已被摧毁，
Here we go. That's the real test.
夜眼中塔正受到
High
攻
ground
击，
again without the Bat Rider.
天辉
Like,
上塔正
not
受
sure if
到
he ever
攻击
finished up the blink.
天辉
Oh,
军
doesn't have
团
it though.
全面加入，
So it's I feel like if he had that, then he could have sent somebody else forward. You know, sent the Dawnbreaker,
天辉
sent the
上
next.
塔正受到攻
But
击，
we've never really seen these kind of initiations that you want. And now it's almost too late. He tries again. DP into the side with nice little carapace over on Luna. There's no Aegis this time, so he's gonna need some help, and he's getting them. Okay, that's Lasso back, and that's the kill that they were looking for. Bogo will join them in the afterlife.
击
Oh my
Hold on to the
goodness.
racks. That was finally the team fight that they wanted.
Massive fight ends up happening in the top lane, and that's exactly what they needed in the exact circumstances they needed in. Neptune Gaming, I am so surprised that they decided to make that jump without the Aegis, especially considering what happened last time that they went high ground. Even with the Aegis, they ended up losing it very, very quickly. So this time around, they make the move with Bat Rider about to respawn. Sure, you don't have a Blink Dagger available on the hero, but, you know, if you're on the high ground by yourself as Luna with a shorter range as you have, nobody else can really hit the tower. You know, you don't need Blink Dagger when the enemy is practically just coming in front of you. They also used the Luna BKB. They did commit Eclipse in that fight. They did everything in their power to keep her alive, but just not good enough at the end. And that's a huge, 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 huge kill. Not just for helping them out in the farm department. I mean, we're going to take another look at this fight, right? And we see them get this beautiful pushback. And when the lasso comes, you see Fonte getting unfortunately sort of pushed back by Fire Snap Cookie. There was a little bit of miscommunication about the direction that the Cookie would go. So Luna's dead. The fight's immediately over. And you've lost so much gold, and they get to defend the high ground, keeping the racks alive. They're going to smoke up now, hoping to get a fight into the Roshan. Very fortunately for them, you know, we didn't have a situation where the big man popped up whilst the Luna was dead. But you're still not in a happy place, especially now that they've demonstrated the proof of concept, right? Oftentimes on Dota, we see teams have a difficult time figuring out how to make something happen, but they do it once. And they're like, oh, sweet, is that easy? Sweet, we're just going to keep doing that over and over again. For me, the best example, remember at TI, Diffusal Blade Gyro versus Bristleback seemed memey the first fight. Then afterwards, it's like, oh, this is the easiest thing ever.
Pretty good,
We might have
actually.
another fight.
Yeah. Looking into each other. Nyx scouted out now as Nice little shot of Oi. Jump forward, never mind. Well, she gets lasso before it gets dueled. They'll still be able to jump 9 to 8, you think. Never mind. That'll be the trade perhaps for Lu. Needs a couple more right clicks with that Scotty. He will be able to get the job done. Fonte, oh, so much physical damage again, just like the last fight. Storm gets the drain out. Will pay with his life this time, but they're gonna have to be on the run. Lu, possible to deal with without the Luna, and it's a 4-for-1 trade.
Oh god. Oh god. It's starting.
Disaster.
It's starting. And that fight, we yet again see exactly what happens. The whole game, right? I think Neptune Gaming gained confidence about the fact that Razor was so far away from Luna every single fight that she never was afraid of losing out on a whole lot of damage. The last 2 fights, that's exactly what happens. And we see that it's pretty much an impossible situation for Fonte. Not only that, Nevermind dragged out before a duel can happen. So they spend a lot of time looking for that initial kill on the Nyx Assassin, not really being able to find it quickly. So that delays them being able to get out into other parts of the fight. Lu has time to just solo hit the tombstone, take it out very, very early on in the fight. And at the same time, they found themselves with those Troll Warlord taking out Nevermind first. So that means that now they don't have press the attack, they don't have any more dispels. Anybody caught out is just certainly going to get ran down and killed. Luna's BKB as well is now down to that 6-second mark, so she doesn't have that long-lasting protection anymore. What a terrible fight for them, but YBB, not only do they get the good fight, Roshan is about to respawn for them. Oh no, it's a longer one. 2 minutes, that's a bit unlucky. But now they have this Troll Warlord properly at the top of the farm charts. And when you're ahead of this Luna and you can challenge her heads up, not having to worry about her damage output, because Fonte will never have damage in the fight. That'll just be taken care of by the Razor every single time. It just makes the late game fight so much easier for you.
Well, Roshan was happening. These illusions now, and the jig is up. The smoke will not lead into anything, and there might be a counter smoke from YBP. But yeah, I mean, as long as Storm gets that drain out, they figured out how to take these team fights now as the game went later and later. I mean, this 5-man lineup from NG is not nearly as scary as it was just 10 minutes ago. So
I'm also glad that Razor went for an armor item instead of buying that heart. I don't think the heart would have helped him, but the armor item is really going to make a huge difference.
We're doing so much physical damage, and that's really key. Just run down Fonte first, and after that the fight gets easy. Especially now with the Troll, having that Battle Fury pay off now. Sitting at so much net worth, so much power. So if he gets the right click, if he gets to live in the fight, it's just not a whole lot that they can do if they take out that Luna first. So yeah, I mean, NG, the way that they need to take fights is to get that initiation with the duel, to blow somebody up as quickly as they possibly can, and then move on from there. It's what they tried, and that's also what failed in that last engagement up in the top lane, you know, with the Yules, with just the Nyx being Nyx, you know, just sitting there in this, scouting out the rotation, making things very, very awkward indeed. It's the ones now smoking up.
They've had a lot of success moving on the map, so we're going to try to find more of it. And now Lu is feeling really, really strong on this Troll Warlord. Ideally, they come across Luna first, but Hui and Gogo are making sure that they are in position to block off any smoke attempts if they go first on Luna. But where is the Bat Rider? Are you in it? Are you in it? Are you in it? Who's he gonna catch? Oh no, it's Fonte. It's Fonte. Fonte's in trouble. Fonte's getting drained. Look at the damage onto this Luna. She's already dead. Nobody else can help out here. They drag back the Kunkka. No escape for you either, my friend. Waishin is down. Hui attempting to escape. Going as quickly as the little critter will carry him. Run, my friend. Try to TP out, but not gonna happen. The chase down will be there. They have more than enough right-click damage. And this time around, there's no 2 minutes to save you. Never mind. Goes in for the duel onto this Nyx Assassin, but this is a very dangerous duel. You're never gonna get this kill. Coming in with the Selly Hammer from Rain. Yule Scepter to make sure there's no escape for Nevermind. And unfortunately, this is Dota 2. Greed is not good. And they end up losing 4 in that fight. The path to Roshan lies open. And now I'm thinking that the path to this victory in this game lies very clear as well, Dragon Drop.
Yeah. I mean, we could pontificate about what he was thinking there with that duel, but I think the conclusion would just be that he was not thinking in that particular moment. So, yeah, it's kind of falling apart right now. I mean, you can't keep Luna away from Storm. He's just running in, gets the drain out, and Especially with that AC, with the ultimate going, there's just so much physical damage that the BKB does not matter at all. You can't turn around with the Eclipse either because Storm has his own BKB to cover him through all that. I mean, what's the solution here? How do you deal with that?
With great difficulty. Honestly, I think at this point, one of the main problems is they, surprisingly enough, well, you know, surprising, you lost the Vision game against Nyx Assassin. They were doing so well early on in that department, but the moment that started changing, and we sort of spoke about this in the draft, right, that if the Razor has a very clear path to where he needs to go to get the drain off, the fight is lost every time from jump. I think what's also really frustrating for them is, despite having 4 stops, despite having 5 snap cookies, they don't have enough mobility to truly get the Luna away from the Razor. So the solution, I don't know, it has to be somehow regaining the vision control on the map, allow you to make sure Fonte is the last one into the fight. And honestly, I do think that they've been a little bit lax in how they've been taking these last few fights. It feels a bit complacent. They were relying on being as farmed as they were in the earlier portions of the game, not necessarily recognizing that the parity has changed and the game itself is entirely different. So unless they can, if they see Fonte in the fight from YBB, the fight's already over. Like, there's nothing that can stop these heroes anymore from YBB from just chasing him down. So they still need to somehow regain that vision control, somehow block off any advance onto the Luna, but it's very, very difficult. Let's see what items they could buy. I suppose you get like a nullifier at some point, but you know, I'm thinking that's still gonna take a while. There's nowhere near any one item that's gonna help them. There's nowhere near any big level 25 that's gonna change everything, you know. Shen, maybe we can assume that 25 for the Kunkka is great, but he's only level 20 right now. A long way to go before he can really bring that additional team fight to bear.
Feels like the moment the pressure started to build from YBB, Neptune Gaming just had a way to respond to that. Feels like it's a completely different team from what we saw with that first Aegis push, you know? Because that was the perfect storm of events where you just get one kill into the next, then you lose Aegis, okay, whatever. I mean, reset and keep going afterwards. Then at second high ground push, I think this will probably turn around.
Yeah,
Lost the Luna, and where YBB figured out, alright, this is what we need to do. Just kill Luna, lol.
Yeah, it's super easy. I think what happened in that push was like somebody on Neptune Gaming probably was like, hey guys, listen, if we don't push soon, we're gonna lose the game. So
yeah,
you get a bit frantic, you start panicking a little bit. They probably noticed that like all their gold is on Fonte and YBB's gold is very well distributed.
Yeah.
So not making any kind of move would have been, you know, you had to take some objective. There was no Roshan at the time. They felt they'd already taken a tier 3 tower, so they just got a little bit too greedy there. I mean, I understand the rationale and the thinking, right? That we have a limited window and that window is closing right now, and we have to do something in that time period. But sadly, they went in a little bit half-cocked, and they got caught out, got killed. And now, you know, Dota's also one of these games where it's very easy to cascade into more and more mistakes. One thing goes wrong, the next thing suddenly seems much more difficult. There's more pressure all across the map. Very difficult as well when you look at this map that Neptune Gaming, where do they even find the farm to help them come back into this? YBB have monopolized everything. The whole map has been taken over. Neptune, Lu by himself is corralling them inside this base, just patrolling the staircases and saying, who dares to come down here? You want to fight me? Nope. Everybody's like, nah, we're good. We're okay.
It's fine. You can have a triangle and a jungle and also all the lanes. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, it's... I feel like it's a bit too late now for them to make any sort of play other than sit on the high ground, to hope that high ground and defend defender's advantage, carry them through the next team fight. Because again, if they were the ones to actually initiate, maybe get a pick off first, then it could have at least done better in some of these later fights. But that just never was the case. I mean, the division game for YBB was too strong. They were always the ones finding Fonte and then sending Storm in. Like, yeah, you're fast, right? You've got a Blink Dagger now too, so just go right on top of the Luna, and then we already won the fight, as you said. It's just as simple as that for them right now.
24k gold lead, 33,000 experience. It's not a simple game for Neptune at this point, and they really are thinking, like, they're racking their brains to try and conceive of ways to come back into this. We see Fonte here in the top lane, just split pushing with these Manta illusions. this is helping somewhat, you know, alleviating some pressure from that side of the map. They haven't yet lost any big structure. You know, they still have all their tier 3s. They still have their racks. They practically have everything that they need in order to find success in this game. But at this point, YBB, all they need to do is just say, well, when do we feel like going high ground? We don't have the Aegis right now, but when we feel strong enough, we'll go. But look how careful they're being, compared and contrasted with how careful Neptune were when they were ahead. They were like, well, we're not losing. There's no rush for us in the same way that there was a rush for Neptune Gaming. Storm is always going to be a hard counter to this Luna in this game. Fonte is always going to have a hard time every single fight. Troll Warlord is always going to be extremely strong in the opening second of the fight. So why rush this? You know, we're just getting stronger and stronger. They're getting weaker sitting there. We're getting closer to our 25s as well. And at that point, it feels impossible for Neptune Gaming to fight, despite how difficult it already is.
Sitting in the base for the last couple of minutes, and they will not be able to do anything else. So it's gonna be entirely down to YBB to when they actually want to go high ground. So the safe play to do would be to just wait for the next stages. Might be a while, 1.5 minutes until the minimum respawn. But yeah, until then you can just finish up whatever item you want. Just Magnum Scepter halfway done for an assassin if he wants to buy out. Troll had a refresher queued up, I believe. What do you have on the other? Okay. If you get a kill like that, though, that would be great, but never mind. Wasn't ready for this one.
We also have not seen that nearly enough times, right? The never mind hard counter. Gonna see a fight middle, though. I don't know about this one, though, Neptune Gaming. They're looking for Storm. He'll pop BKB. I mean, it is a 6-second one. They could easily kill Hui Hui in this duration. And looks like they might be able to do so. One more right-click. Storm jumps forward with the Blink Dagger. Takes out the Snapfire. There is buyback available if needed. But it might be. But without the BKB, maybe YBB don't feel as confident about going up the hill. Shen dragging back the Razor. They buy back on the Snapfire. There's going to be a duel out as well. But look at the damage from Lu. They've already killed the Troll. They've gotten the kill on the Troll. Kunkka dies next. 2 down. Lu wanting to get more. Undying will be another 1 to 4 right now. Double buybacks out of the Legion Commander and Snapfire. But what can they do to stop Lu? And they really thought that they were going to be able to kill Storm in that situation, but never. And now a blink forward from Lu, chasing down the Snapfire, earning a dieback. And of course it's a first hit route. Of course that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, that was bound to happen. If it's not happening now, and it's happening in a couple of minutes when the Aegis comes out. But yeah, just one step out of the base from NG, and that's all that YBB needed. I don't think these fights were gonna get any easier from this point either, like we talked about that, so might as well try your luck now. Oh, come on. Really?
Why not? You were having some fun.
Do not normalize fountain farming. It's not great.
Oh my goodness, what a hard game at the end of the day there. And feels like that's a victory that YBB definitely earned for themselves, right? I think that they made sure that they utilized their draft well. They took very intelligent fights around the map. It turned out the itemization for Troll Warlord was perfect, but Neptune Gaming, it felt like a different team drag and drop in the later mid-game than what we saw in the laning phase, early mid-game. They looked really good. Took a lot of very intelligent fights. Their vision control was immaculate all across the map, and they just made sure that they kept the pressure up on the side of YBB, but like you said, after that second fight in the high ground where they tried to force that push, it felt like not just the team fell apart, but the team internal dynamic. They just felt like a worse team afterwards. It didn't feel like they had the same confidence anymore in their gameplay.
Absolutely, and I think you were also right when you said that they felt that pressure. It's kind of self-made pressure. It's like, oh god, we gotta go now, we gotta go now, we gotta win before our timing is up. And those kind of strategies, they can work, but those are the kind of strategies that if you make one misstep and if you can't recover immediately, then you end up with a game like this, you know, where it just snowballs completely out of control and there's just nothing you can do by the end of it. So, but yeah, great mental game there from YBB. Definitely, as I said, definitely a deserved victory. We are in agreement with this, as they're putting a point on the board. We'll see whether Neptune Gaming can reset in Game 2, come up with something else, or whether YBB can make it a 2-0 sweep. Until then, we're going to take a short break.
受到攻击。 方禁用英雄。
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back very quickly in game number 2. Neptune Gaming had a pretty strong start in game 1, but then they kind of panicked. They lost a couple of crucial team fights, and then it was just the YBB train rolling over them afterwards. So,
Yep.
what can they do now in this game 2 to have a different outlook?
I think there's several things that they need to do. In particular, they need to get away from the idea of playing only from Fonte with the Score Protect 1 style, which is what they did in the last game. Didn't really work out for them. They need to make sure they have heroes that can not just scale better into the late game, but are better capable of taking fights into the late game. We saw the LC being very useful in the early mid game when you can do the target, you can kill that hero. But when you stop being able to do that, suddenly the drop-off from the initiation is pretty massive. With all the BKBs emerging, the drop-off of Kunkka's initiation is pretty massive. So I already like what they started with here. You have Mars Rubik. Now, obviously not going to be as insane with the ability to kill one target very, very quickly. However, this does at least allow them to have very stable team fight for a large portion of the game. You buy Armlet on this Mars hero. You have some damage potential from him as well. You know, Rubik, there are some okay spells to steal here. You really want Ghost or Impale. Everything else is, it's okay, I suppose. But at the very least, they've made sure that they're not going to be, well, it doesn't seem to me, this opening of the draft seems to suggest to me more team fight from them and less over-reliance on making sure you have one major carry to win the game out for you in the end.
Yep. Let's ban out the Razors, so it's, don't have this one hero that can take out your one carry hero and basically make them use it.
Yep. I love that the first band as well. They're like, no stop. Never
Not deal
again.
with that again. Thank you very much. Yeah. Dawnbreaker making an appearance again. So Dawnbreaker and Nyx seems to be the support duo of choice for YBB Gaming once again. Is that Clockwork on Neptune?
I like that Clockwork.
All of the different drafts, you know. I think the first one was off Dota TV because you had the thing on top right, and they switched to the main client, and now we're back with this super cool UI here.
Yeah, we get to see the players. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see them right after the game, like as we were looking at the replays and talking about what happened. That would have been entertaining. One thing I really love about the Clockwork pick, though, is it gives them a lot more dynamism with how this draft actually plays this game. A lot of different areas they can take the fight. Mars can jump in one direction, Clockwork another, Rubik, of course, displacing heroes in between. And you can create the situation where the Clockwork sort of blocks off access to deal with heroes that are inside the Arena of Blood. Makes it a lot stronger in that regard. And it's further protection for this Drow Ranger. I'm not fully happy that it's a Drow from them, because the way Drow tends to play does demand that the team play around this hero. So we might run into similar problems as in the last game. But fortunately, they've already banned out the Razor, so a super hard counter not going to be available. Although these last two bans, because they don't have a carry pick yet from YPB, you need to get rid of Spectre very, very quickly. This feels like such a nice Spectre game. You don't have much burst on NG, you already have Drow opened up, you have Solo Guardian to back you up, Nyx Assassin to give you vision. Yeah, you gotta get rid of it soon, because otherwise, if I'm right now, Lou, that's sitting on YPB, I'm like, click, I'm ready. Just like click it immediately, bro.
Pretty much. I mean, it's always that is, yeah, immediately banned. And it's always the thing with picking up a Drow Ranger when there's still 2 picks left on the other side. It's always gonna be some sort of risk. I mean, they've prepared for it, as I said. They've got the Clockwork, they've got the Mars Arena to really set up the team fights in the right way for her to just be able to sit there and click away at people. But what's to say? I mean, what's stopping YBB from just playing a similar style to last game, where they're the ones just initiating with a Blink Lasso? Get Drow out of position, and then she very dead indeed.
What helps this game is having Clockwork. Clockwork is, I think, the really big one. Provided you have Hookshot available, the counterplay initiation is amazing versus heroes like Nyx Assassin, heroes like Batrider. You can, from very far away, get right in there. And not only do you just get on top of them, but using the power cogs, you actually create space between the Drow Ranger and the hero that's initiating onto her. And if she's inside cogs, ironically enough, right, that's sort of like a fortress. You can just sit there, right-clicking everybody that's outside of the cogs. You have to kind of run away from the area. So he has a big job to do in this game. We're going to need quite a lot of levels to come out of this position for Clockwork. At the same time, I'm imagining that Mars also needs to have a good game so that he can provide that beefcake. I do think that one of these two heroes is going to die a lot, but it just has to be the case, right? Somebody has to tank the gank, somebody has to be sacrificed. Going to be them. Although this time around, though, if I'm looking at the damage output from YBB, it's a lot more consistent and over time, right? With they don't have Troll Warlord like the last game, they don't have the Razor, of course. Takes a little bit longer for the hero to tick over completely into death. So NG, we'll see what this last pick is. They might be able to create enough time in the middle of these fights to try and get away. I don't think that really feeds into it, but I guess now they just want to come in, burst targets very, very quickly. Very skirmish heavy draft. Probably we're going to get an early Orchid out of this Quap. But it's also the kind of draft that is extremely susceptible to getting left behind if they start falling behind. Quite difficult to recover, given that you need to fight a lot as this draft to come back into the game proper.
Yep.
还剩5秒。
Okay, I was gonna say, yeah, they're just gonna pick the troll
现
again.
在请选择
And
英
there's
雄。
always arguments against it. I mean, again, the Clockwork Mars tend to be pretty good against it. Queen Bane always blink around and away from you. And Unidra range, I believe she still has a Gust Blind talent, 50% or something at level 10, if I'm not mistaken. And all of these things just add up to kite around the troll. But those are concerns that we had for the last game as well. And YBB proved that they were able to deal with them quite handily as a turn.
Yeah.
No reason to assume that they can't now. But I
think
think
the
this
big thing
game's
for
going to be
them
a bit tougher for them.
Yeah. It's going to be a lot tougher for them. It's like they don't have the super easy matchups, right, that we saw in the previous game. Last game, it was one of these. You literally have one-click matchups. One click and you suddenly are winning in that situation. This time around, it's a lot more difficult. The enemy team also this time has burst. Last game, we saw that eventually they ran out of damage on the side of Neptune Gaming. They'd go for these initiations, but unless the hero didn't have BKB active and they committed all the spells, they practically got no kills. But now you do have Sonic Wave. Pure damage, it will always be effective in the fight. You do have the right click damage out of the Draw Ranger. She doesn't have to do as much work as Luna does to get to that dangerous right clicking point. You do have heroes that can buy you space and time, like the Mars Clockwork, for those aforementioned heroes to dish in their damage in the middle of the fight. It's not like the last game where they're very reliant on you have to burst one target and then move on to the next one. This time you can actually take team fights. You have this Rubik as well who might get lucky, get a really good spell in the game, right? Exorcism is available. We can get that for ourselves. So I think that this time around... Oh, just even Impale.
Yeah.
Impale is so good. Such a lovely spell, honestly. And of course, one huge spell that they can steal as well. As we saw from last game, Solar Guardian really effective in a lot of these fights. Just being able to show up quickly and help your team out is a surprising tool of mobility that this Rubik can take advantage of if he ever does get that steal. So, and I also like the fact that they have the ability to keep Lu at bay. Lu now is going to be very disincentivized from using Battle Trance a lot of these fights. If he uses Battle Trance, you easily get ran into power cars. You can get telekinesis back. You know, Mars can put you in a bad position if you run at him. So, going to be a lot more circumspect of using his ultimate. And that might make the game more playable for Neptune Gaming than Game 1 was.
Yep. Alright, here we are. YBB, they've already got the net worth advantage though, if you look at the top. The disparity in consumables that do not count towards net worth, in case you didn't know.
Yeah.
By yourself, you're just losing net worth, technically.
Unfortunately, it is what it is. It's a rough situation.
Here we are. YBB's on the other side of the map this time around, but they've got their trusted support dude, they've got the bat right again. Towards the offlane. What do you think about this mid matchup? E versus Quap.
DPV Quap. I imagine, generally speaking, this is one of these situations where DP comes out okay. You know, you're just DP, you do your thing here. It's a very solid matchup. It's very difficult for kills to happen in either direction, even with rotations. So, but Waichin, the big responsibility here is making sure that you build up in such a way that you can deal with the lanes on the sides when you start making rotations. I don't think you itemize primarily for this lane. We're not going to see too many points, I think, into the Stifling Dagger. We'll see Scream, couple points into Blink, but I think Storm will be, for the most part, better off in this matchup trade here middle. At the very least, a bit more stable in the matchup. Has to commit less resources to get the farm. So you'll just be chilling. Storm's gonna have yet another decent start to the game, I think, here.
Both of these also heroes just again, depending on the skill build somewhat. But both those are heroes that can rotate into jungle or towards a small camp, get that expert farm with their spell.
Yeah.
Or push at the lane, then do that, you know. Should just be fairly passive. Both of them should be able to get their spells going. The only the difference is once the laning stage starts to break down and they wanna... Okay, wait. Fine, here he is. Once the laning stage starts to break down, like Corpus kind of hero wants to rotate around to the side lanes, trying to get a kill. And once she does that, Storm will just press the ultimate perhaps and some pressure on the tier 1 tower. Or just a match rotation, I mean, it's also very much a possibility.
They could definitely do that as well. Like, Storm is playing one of these heroes in the DP that if you do move around, it's obviously less like explosively impactful, but if you position it with like a big exorcism push, you can take an early tower with her first few movements. And now look at this top lane. What do you think about this? Like the troll into a Mars matchup, that side of the map?
I think Mars is one of the most stable offlaners in the game. Like, even if you have a bad matchup, and there's not a whole lot of them, not sure if Troll counts among them, I wouldn't say so. But even if the lane doesn't go well for whatever reason, all you need to do is just walk, wait for your spells to come off cooldown, walk up, press W to be annoying and to get CS, and then if they go on you, just spear them away. And there's no way to bully him out, really. So, always gonna be stable, always gonna get his farm, always gonna be annoying if nothing else. If there's not a ton of kill potential, which there only is if Rain is completely out of position.
Yeah. Rain has to be very mispositioned on the Dawnbreaker for that to be a possibility. For now, though, I think they'll just be happy to make sure that they stick around in that lane, get farm on the smalls, get these levels, put a little bit of pressure on draw, but you know there's not going to be immense. And bottom, one thing that is different here, they're not playing against Undying anymore, so there's a little bit more pressure they can put on the Clockwork. They're trying to move for this kill. The Firefly with the additional damage from the Napalm. Gonna be more than enough. They get the first blood, almost didn't get it. And to make matters worse, after getting this kill, Rain in the top lane is now out of position, so they are gonna look for this early kill. God's Rebuke will be there, one more right click. They get the kill back to get some revenge for bottom, but the Clockwork also doesn't have the TP, so he has to waddle his way back into the lane. It's going to be leaving Fontaine in a much more vulnerable position until he arrives here.
Nice to be vindicated, you know. Raid's not gonna die unless he's completely out of position, and then he's completely out of position and he dies. Okay. Sometimes you make a prediction like that and it comes true one way or the other.
Always feels good. You're like, oh yay, I sort of know what I'm talking about in this game, huh? It's a good feeling.
Very few and far between in my case, but sure. Right back to he's getting the farm at least, right? 27 and 28 and 0.
Yeah. Despite the stability of the Mars in that lane, there's not really much that can be done to stop Troll from farming. Mid lane, oh, Impale, missed. Shen didn't even have vision there, but sort of was able to get the back stutter step. Very, very close. If he gets caught there, he definitely dies. That doesn't end up happening, so he can just stick around in the lane. And top, yeah, I was going to mention that Blue is just going to keep farming. Nothing much that Mars can do against the Troll Warlord in that situation. You just watch him and hope that you don't run afoul of him. And this situation now, never mind, finds Rain again, but there's no Rubik here. No easy way to get this kill. So Rain isn't out of position this time around and will end up living as a result.
Wab actually did go all the way back home, but I think she missed out on too much. As down bottom, Fonte in a lot of trouble. He dodges the gas, just burning, and need a bit of follow-up there from 928, and he finds it. Perfectly placed Impale. That's a huge kill.
Yeah, that's absolutely massive, because they got that kill with a rotation from a support as well. So now Nevermind is isolated in this top lane. Makes it a little bit easier for YBB to... They won't be able to fully kill him, but they can set up to zone him out of this lane, and or set up for Rain to go middle and bully Shen a little bit more. That was such a big kill. Drow is also not one of these heroes that enjoys having to be playing catch-up in any capacity. She needs to be ahead all the time, and that's certainly not happening in this game. YBB are ahead in all three lanes, in all three matchups. This early game going even better for them than the first game did. And it's really worrying. Like, Shen's not even going to get this rune here. Are you gonna force this?
Spawn bottom anyway, I'm
yeah,
sure.
Hey.
That's
Oh.
spawn top, okay.
Nice blink back though. Sonic Wave.
Nope!
It's a carapace. Lol. Lol, 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 lol. Nope. Sonic Wave all you want, buddy. But it's not happening today.
Again with the Sonic Waves. I feel like we had a discussion about that at qualifier game that we casted, right? Or am I,
Yep.
am I just compounding?
Yo.
Mine.
Never mind, it is going. This is what we talked about, right? Now that there is no support for him, the forced to rotate in several heroes. But Wai Chen, he's here now, okay. Rain has already committed Sellyhammer, so no way to easily get away from this. Stifling Dagger out, blink forward from Wai Chen with the Scream of Pain. Gonna be a quick kill. 928 wasn't there in time to try to turn around with the Impale. Never mind, very desperately needed the help and got it right on time. And that's actually a perfect first rotation for the Queen of Pain because it happens when Storm is not really in a position to commit the Ghost in the mid lane, so they could even backtrack and make sure they protect the tier 1 tower. Great movement at long last here from Wai Chen.
Also a very nice play, just with the extra click, blink forwards, for the final burst, just make sure that there's no deny possibility here on the back of the Shadow Strikes.
Yeah.
I think Lou was kind of waiting, setting up for that, but could not even provide that for his friend. Merciful death.
Yeah.
Fonte already in the jungle, doesn't have the easiest time compared to the Luna, but would be happy enough. He beats being run down again by the Bad Rider in the bot lane.
That's also one of the situations, right? Because they have this Nyx Assassin again with the Bat Rider. Once more, they're always going to be susceptible to vision being found and quick initiation. We did not see an early Blink Dagger. The Bat Rider last game went BTs into the Aghanim Shard before buying Blink, so that did delay the big initiation from him for a while. I'm not so sure he's going to follow the same scripture, especially with how much farm he has at this early point in the game. He might just go BT straight into the Blink. But if he does that and they ever get vision of Fonte, we already saw what can happen. Drow has very few counterplay options if she's the one being initiated on. Sure, you have Gust, but yeah, it's not really going to help you out all that much, especially if the DP is nearby with the silence. So this game is looking really good right now. And indeed, YBB bringing in the BTs first for this Bat Rider in the off lane. They're sieging this tower down bottom. Drow's already been forced away. They certainly don't want to bring in any other heroes to help defend this because who can? There's only hero that could maybe come here is Mars, but even then, it's not a guaranteed situation that he survives the initiation, so they just have to sack the tower.
Yeah. That's ultimate to make it work. I believe he still have a TP who elsewhere and had a haste rune bottled a moment ago, so could turn this into more. They see an opportunity. Being body blocked by rain right now, but yeah, it's maybe they can do some chip damage to his bottom tier 2 at the same time. Yeah, top tier 1 barely touched at all, so they can actually make a defensive play up here. The arena plucking him back into it, but the lasso before the spear, follow-up control from 928. Mars will burn inside his own circle of death.
Well, looks like even Mars can't survive this at this point. Yeah, I think they're going to be forced just to play entirely in the jungle. Even Fonte getting forced away from his triangle. Storm is chasing him. Storm wants this kill, won't have enough damage. Oh, just shy. A little bit more damage would have been enough, but Fonte does get forced back home. Need to go and recover quickly back at Fountain. This means that now there's even less time on the map. They're pressing onto this top tier 1 tower as well. And already we're seeing the map get smaller and smaller for Neptune Gaming. Took YBB a while to be able to get this kind of advanced positioning in Game 1, but here in Game 2, it is looking much, much better for them at this point. And they have this early gold lead. The Drow Ranger, she still needs, after getting this Dragon Lance, you still need a +1 item, whether or not that be Hurricane Pike or BKB, but you need at least one additional item to feel more comfortable with this game. But the way it's looking right now, YBB, they'll give her the space to get that item, but they're going to take the price of a pound of flesh elsewhere on the map. They're already soaking up all those farm bottom. Lou, I imagine, is probably going to build Battle Fury again. And now that Fonte is about to show bottom in front of this Observer Ward, they might decide to make this jump once more.
The minimap closer and closer. Fonte is all alone, but an easy way to jump at him. Robo and Whitechen hooked up to help the top lane. Laszlo's on cooldown. The arena much shorter cooldown, so it's available again. Get some revenge here. Ionit's, he knew that something was happening. He's actually gonna live because of that. The stun coming through on Guagua. Rain gotta be a bit careful. There's more and more fire being thrown out, but okay. 9 to 8. Like he tried to help, but the rest of the team did not really, wasn't really there to follow up in time. The last of the cancel TP. One from Rain wasn't going to be in time, so certainly worthwhile to use that immediately as a game of cooldown.
Okay, alright. So Neptune Gaming, they go forward there, they commit some spells. They thought they were going to get a lot more out of it. They really wanted this Batrider kill. Yeah. Not getting it and losing Mars and losing the fight in front of the tier 1, so you can't press on that side of the map, so you still have a reduced area to play with. This is really rough for Neptune Gaming. And to make matters worse, a lot of this came as well whilst YBB are still farming very heavily on their core heroes elsewhere. Yep. So there's very little advantage that Neptune Gaming are gaining for anything that's happening on the map. They're just getting further and further behind. We see them moving as this big unit in tandem. They're just afraid of what happens if anybody gets caught out and isolated. But that just makes the game easier for YBB to play with the draft they have. Although a hookshot will come out onto Nyx Assassin. 9 to 8 might die here. Spy Carapace will delay the inevitable, but they find that kill. So it's not all bad news right now for the side of Neptune Gaming. They at least got something, but they're only getting something here, Dragon Drop. They're never getting anything of actual value. It's always just a little bit of a piecemeal, a consolation prize, you know?
Imagine being the Nyx player and then having that said about you. No value. I mean, he was only level 5, like just a couple of experience points shy of level 6. So I mean, this disadvantage from YBB on their course, I mean, the supports are definitely paying for it. I mean, if you look at the net worth distribution, it tells a very clear story. But we're actually fine with that because these are supports that can do a lot with just levels. Nyx got his level 6 now after passive ticks. And yeah, he can start roaming around, providing vision, and making sure that his cores can get the best possible team fight. And well, if they can get that, they can really leverage their own net worth and their own power.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nevermind, this would be great.
Nevermind gonna die. Shouldn't die, but now they know that they're setting up to try and bring down Lu. So the Troll Warlord will play a little bit more safely. Oh no, Fonte. Oh no, Fonte. Ionit is gonna be there. Firefly with sticky napalm out, and there's literally nothing Drow Ranger can do. And now they want to set up onto the Mars because they know he's not gonna have any support coming his direction. Rain stuck inside the power cards right now. Will eat some right clicks, end up losing his life. Whilst Nevermore attempting to run away. Arena drop down. It's a zoning arena, but doesn't have the TP. Has no way to escape here. Only buying time, but Lu and 9 to 8 will certainly be able to find this kill. It's taking them a little bit of a while, you know, but eventually Whirling Axes will do the trick. They get the kill on the Mars. He's down. Such a sad situation. So that's 2 core heroes dead in the same span of time all across the map here. Things not looking very good right now for Neptune Gaming. And YBB, not only do they get those kills with other core heroes as well. So it's a huge bonus to them.
Once again, YBB, yeah, they get a really good set of kills. All they pay for it is that support. I mean, Rain went down, but whatever, you know. It's not like there's no value, but it's certainly the least value that you want to give up. You're perfectly happy to trade your support for the one position, like literally 5 for 1, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, if they can keep going that, the momentum is just going to build. We haven't even seen these big group ups around the exorcism yet.
That's they haven't needed it, right?
No, not really. Bad right, I mean. Not quite sure what the timing exactly was, but it was certainly a much later Blink Dagger in that last one. Now he's almost got it after the Boots of Travel and the Ether Lens, though.
Yeah.
We're on the cusp of that. I mean, once that Blink Dagger gets online, they have yet another tool to get this quick pick.
I mean, Fonte has pretty much been playing the whole game under vision right now, even there in the triangle. They have so many ways to scout out the Drow Ranger, so once they do get that blink, it's so easy. Never mind, so sad. No, you can't miss that. Now here comes Yules from Storm. with the exorcism going. They're looking for the kill onto Nevermind. Solar Guardian will also come in. Do they find enough slows here? They get Nevermind out. Gogo created enough space with the power cogs. Will give up his own life in the process though, but Sonic Wave out onto 2, but YSHEN forced to blink away from the Ghost of Storm. Still a little bit too strong on this hero. Fonte though doesn't have a blink option, so he's just gonna get chased down with the Firefly. They've taken out 3 in this fight as Clockwork. Not the first one to die, just has to watch his allies joining him in the grave. And with those 3 heroes being dead, Ghosts are only active for a few more seconds, so they can't really press onto a tower from this. However, they have just made themselves so much better off on the map because that was a counterplay. NG were trying to make something happen, but instead they miss on the initiation of the Mars. Pretty much initiate on themselves, right? Because now they're all out of position. YBB can just run into the fight and do whatever the hell they want.
There's a lot of things happening in the fight. It looked a bit touchy there for a second because Rubik actually got the stolen lasso to control up the troll, but it didn't end up having enough damage to really finish him off. But yeah, I mean, we've been talking about it in the draft about how great Arena and Hookshot and Cogs is. But that only matters if you actually land them, if you actually hit them. Just initiating like that without vision, wasting the Arena. The Hookshot missed. I mean, Gorgor still went in, got the Cogs out, but barely slowed them down. Just pushed them further into Neptune Gaming, if anything. So that is just absolute disaster. NG not really being able to find any of the defense that they were looking for. They will be able to get this next, but at what cost? Signs to follow. Storm dodging that spear into the arena. YSHEN will fall inside the fire. We'll go next on the list. Lu will take over as Batrider does fall. Nevermind. Yeah, it's just in too deep. Should be able to run him down as Storm's trying to do. Come on, again with this.
Oh, these long chases
running him down forever.
I mean, that death for Nevermind does actually save the life of Fonte, because if they don't spend like a million years killing the Mars, then suddenly they have the easy dive onto the Drow Ranger. Another unfortunate fight though. This time around, YSHEN is the one that gets caught out inside the Firefly. Silence comes in from the DP. Pretty much an impossible situation to escape from. She doesn't have BKB just yet on the Queen of Pain, so no escape options from that position. And like you said, that time, and pretty much anybody who gets caught, and that can't happen, right? You can't have a game like that where whoever's hit first with the lasso automatically dies and you have no counterplay. Like we were talking about in the draft, that they, in theory, have the counterplays. They have Hookshot, they have Jump in Arena, but they're either... They had the Arena in that fight and it didn't matter. They're too far behind at this point for it to really be influential at stopping the Batrider. And to make matters worse, Clockwork just knows if you Hookshot in, I'm dead every single time. And sometimes you don't have the clear way to jump in. And even if I do jump in, I might just jump into additional deaths. Because we might finally see a positive fight in the top lane. Solar Guardian will come in. Gogo jumped in. 3 heroes caught with the Sonic Wave, but nobody's died just yet. 928 almost ticked out from the soul burn of the Orchid, but somehow is still alive. Lu instead comes in. First hit root onto YSHEN. Not going to be able to get that kill, but at the same time, elsewhere on the map, Fonte getting taken out solo by the Batrider, whilst Lu chasing down Hui Hui. Telekinesis has already been used, so no way out of that situation. Ionid will pay for having taken out Fonte here in the river. However, definitely a worthwhile trade, and Storm TP'd onto the tier 1 tower, coming in with the Exorcism Ghost, creating a pincer maneuver here. Nevermind, yet again, tangoing with Lu, having him take a long time to kill him, but the kill will come. At the same time, Storm found the silence onto YSHEN, but the Queen of Pain a bit too far away. Instead of chasing her down, Queen of Pain will leave, and the DP will commit these ghosts into a Roshan attempt. With Lu here, they're going to pick this up just after the 20-minute mark, so the first Aegis of the game out for YDB already at this early stage.
Poor Nyx Assassin, man. He's just like, I'm fine. Oh god, no, never mind. Fate Bolt. So they got a little bit of extra here. Lu, the BKB gets to walk away. That would have been very... What was he doing there in the first place, you know? The rest of his team elsewhere.
Just saying what's up, you know? Greeting the enemy. Hey guys, I hope you're all having fun.
Yeah. That would have been a bit of a throw, though, if you just lose your Aegis immediately like that.
Oh, lol. I mean, we saw what can happen if you do lose your Aegis immediately in the last game, right? Neptune Gaming were in this, not as commanding a position, of course, but they were looking good in the game. And then the A just went a little bit too cheaply on the high ground push, and then everything just went pear-shaped afterwards. Speaking of pear-shaped, things are now getting worse for Fonte. Feels bad. This has just been hell. This has been the lane. This has been the mid game. This has just been everything. Every time Fonte is on the map, just lasso into kill. No counterplay. What can you do?
Yeah, it just keeps happening, and I don't have to tell you that this is a problem. You can't really easily play Draw Ranger from behind. You can't easily play Quap from behind, and guess what? Both of them are falling further and further behind right now. Quap's still the highest net worth on their team, but 3 core heroes for this entire map so far. They've been ahead of their respective counterparts. So, yeah, you keep killing these supports. Eventually, even that won't happen anymore if YBB starts to be more coherent with map moves. If they start sticking together more, as they're punishing these tier 2s, pushing these tier 2s. And then
So I'm looking at the
what do you have left?
itemization. What you have left is hope that the smoke works. You need to land these spells. If this doesn't work,
I don't think we've seen one good arena yet this game.
No, we have not. No, we have not. We haven't really seen a very good power cogs either. And Blue now gonna try to turn this around onto Gogo. They have to use the hook shot just to escape on Clockwork. That doesn't feel good. And here comes Batrider. Arena out onto the Bat by herself. But at the same time, Rain with the Solar Guardian, they close in on the Drow Ranger. Sonic Wave will bring the Batrider down, but that also puts both Waishin and the Rubik in a very bad position. They've already lost one. They've just lost two.
Yeah.
Never mind. They realize it's done. It's over. Nevermind's still alive. That's just the story of this game. But the rest of the team is down. GG gets called. And a quick 2-0 from YBB to open up their DPC campaign. They just looked clean as hell, showing that their dominance in the qualifiers certainly was not a fluke by any stretch of the imagination.
Absolutely not. I mean, they knew exactly how to handle playing from behind in game 1. They knew that, all right, all we need to do is just survive through this timing, and eventually we're gonna be able to deal with Fonte, to deal with the Luna, and then Bob's your uncle. The game's ours, right? It's basically what game 1 was. Game 2, you just skipped that entire part when Neptune Gaming was strong. You know, just just skip that. Why the hell not? You just win in 20 minutes, and yeah, win the lanes, win the games.
Yeah.
Nothing worked for Neptune Gaming. It felt like they were still rattled from that last game, I would say.
It really did feel like it, right? A lot of their positioning was quite suspect as well in this game, especially considering how well they started in the last game. They just really felt off kilter. They didn't necessarily feel like they were able to communicate well. A lot of the rotations that we saw that went well for them were, ironically enough, rotations that YBB started and couldn't complete properly. But there was a lot of disconnects. The first couple of moves from the Queen of Pain it was okay, but they couldn't get any structural advantage out of those moves. Fonte just had a rough everything. There was no phase of this game where Fonte felt good, felt comfortable. There was always vision being provisioned by Nyx Assassin to keep ganking him all the time. The laning phase was very difficult. I mean, last game there was Undying to protect him in the lane, but Clockwork, different beast. Clockwork dies more often, and we saw that, right? Clockwork just kept dying in that situation. A lot of the time, he was supposed to be the one that breaks up these initiations, jumps in with the hook shot to make things different. However, you can't do that because you're just giving away gold each time you do. You can only do it if they've already committed like the silence onto the Queen of Pain, but everybody's dying so fast between the Queen of Pain and the Drow that by the time you get there, it's too late. And you're just showing up to give them extra gold. And we saw that happen time and time again. On top of the misspells, you mentioned that they're so rattled that they're not even able to execute in the way that they were doing in game number 1. So end of the day, they just got out mental gamed, it feels like, and YBB just had a more clear idea of what to do in this game and made sure not to get rattled when any mistakes did happen or setbacks. And you stay consistent in Dota, it tends to result in a victory for you.
I even want to say that there's not been a lot of missteps at all for YBB Gaming. I mean, sure, they gave up some kills, but they were always on Nyx or the Dawnbreaker, right? Always on the supports as we head into the highlights here, so we can get a quick recap of what's going on. I mean, this is already a pretty decent start, you know, 4 stacks of Napalm, easy kill, but this was the bigger kill even afterwards.
Yeah, I think this is where everything started.
Yeah, Gush is not all that great if you're right on top of them, if you can just run circles. If you push Bat right away, maybe that's gets a bit better.
And they got this top kill. Poor Nevermind also ended up dying. And this kill that happened, we seeing happen in the top lane, and the part happened because they had to go bottom to protect Drow. And time again, they just failed to be able to kill this Batrider. Solar Guardian, such a spell to be able to use. We see why they keep picking this for Rain over and over and over again. And in this fight, they sort of overcommit here, right? They're so desperate to find a kill of any kind. They're like, oh, sweet, it's a Nyx Assassin. Just get him, use everything. But enemy team's like, wait, we still got the kill onto Clockwork anyway. Let's just pick up a bonus here. Okay, what have you really achieved? We still keep the tier 1 tower. Drow Ranger's not any further forward in farming. She's still as squishy. Ionet can still easily solo kill her, which he just kept doing on the Batrider over and over and over again. Despite this Rubik stealing Lasso, and there's that move you talked about, the mist onto the high ground, no vision jump.
Yeah,
like,
initiate into no vision and you missed the... That's just desperation. Like, you would not go for this play if you felt like you had some sort of control, some semblance of... yeah, this looked good for a quick moment here with the lasso, but they just ran out of damage up against control. Spawned inside the River of Death like this. Every fight looked the same, whether they were initiated on the side of NG or whether they tried to initiate and just straight up failed. Yeah. And there's another arena, but he misses the spear. I don't think we've seen a single spear into arena.
No, we did not. We didn't even see, like, one of the things about Clockwork Mars as well is that power cogs inside the arena pushes opponents back to the wall, but we never saw that combo. We saw Batrider Nyx a lot though, many times this game, and that combo was quite strong. I'm sure right now Neptune Gaming across both games are quite annoyed by this duo of heroes. And Drow, look how weak she is. As soon as there's anybody on top of her, they bring vision. I'm also quite surprised that they decided to go with the Shadowblade build on Fonte, given that the enemy team has Nyx, has Dawnbreaker. They're going to have vision the whole game. And that was just the last fight. It's just over. It's done. I think Ionid definitely can claim MVP from that game. Just completely made Drow's game 100% irrelevant. And I feel kind of bad for Fonte, right? Game 1, there's this Storm Razor that makes it impossible for you to play Dota. Game 2, there's this Ionid Batrider that makes it impossible for you to play Dota. You're just not a happy camper right now at all.
Not at all indeed. So yeah, but hey, shout out to YBB coming in through the open qualifiers and absolutely dominating in this series, no question asked. So quick 2-0 for them, which means we can go do grown-up things. Ricky and Neff will be bringing you the next game in about an hour. That'll be SAG versus Shenzhen. I do believe we're going to be sticking to the schedule, but I'm not 100%, so whatever you do keep an eye on the stream, do keep an eye on the social media, PWRD Esports and PWRD _Dota, I believe, on Twitter. Find that out, and you can also find out all of the information, all the teams, the schedules, and whatever you desire over on dpc.pwesports.cn. So, there, any last words for the people for today?
Last words is that when you're playing Dota, especially when you're losing Dota, relax. Relax, take it easy. A lot of losses come in when you fluster yourself, you create pressure on yourself. It happens to the best of us. If it can happen to pros, it can happen to you. So sometimes just get your mind off of it. Remember that it's only a game. It's an important game. It's an incredible game. But ultimately, keep your head. Gain some perspective, you know? And if you do end up losing really, really badly, you cop a 2-0 like this, go outside, touch some grass, tell people you love them, and you'll be okay.
Alright, that's the important takeaway for this game. Always worth remembering that, yeah, just chill, you know? Just chill at times. So, with these wise words from Snare, we say goodbye and see you next time.
Wait. 可以。大家好，我是 YBB 的楼。第二局啊，感觉每个人都很猛呀，感觉对面根本挡不住呀。对啊。 就几个月吧，2个月2个多月。啊，就就我在打电梯，然后就发现有人加我了呀，然后就聊了呀。是的呀，就问我。对对对，就是这样。没有，没打过。那个时候9000分吧。喜欢的英雄都被他们办掉了呀，他们办什么就是我喜欢的呀，他们很懂的呀，皮埃啊，娜迦。优势，不知道怎么说，感觉就是挺厉害的嘛。是的，好玩一点嘛，也厉害，主要也厉害。